Buenos dias, good morning everybody. Welcome to the second day of CoMotion Miami. Great first day. Thank you all for your amazing participation. Got a really packed day today. And amazing discussions. There will be everything from the third dimension of mobility in the skies to equitable transit, to the very important question of port logistics, how we move goods from port to ports, and there's going to be a very interesting workshop on that later. And it's my great honor to welcome to CoMotion Miami a remarkable leader of a remarkable city in a very remarkable time, and that is Mayor Francis Suarez. All of you know that he has, in so many ways, put the conversation around technology and the city really on the map in a very important way. He's a very big supporter of our world and what we do in trying to really modernize and transform mobility and transit. So it's my great honor to welcome Francis Suarez, Mayor Suarez. And Mayor Suarez will be back towards the end of the day for a very interesting conversation on the future of Miami. So, thank you for your support.
You got it. So last year, or was it last year that we were in LA? Or was it this year that we were in LA? I think it was this year. It was last year? It was November, it was last year, that's what I thought. So last year, my keynote was sort of sprung on me. Everything in my life, first of all, I gotta describe what my life is like. I take my life in day increments, so I love it when people ask me, hey, what are you doing next week? I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing in the next 20 minutes. And then I tell my staff that I'm a 5-year-old. Like, think of me as a 5-year-old. And if you think of me as a 5-year-old, I will always be prepared because everything is a data upload and a data dump, every single event, all day. And when you think about how the logical extension of what it means to be a 5-year-old as a leader in public office, they literally walk behind me as I'm on the phone and they will push me so I don't run into poles. And I don't, so it's that. But one of the great things that just happened as I walked up here, which is very similar to what happened in November, was I was literally on the phone and I was being introduced and they took away my cell phone, which has my talking points. So that's a good thing, because that's exactly what happened in November. And by the way, I gave one of the best speeches I've ever given in my life. So hold on tight. No, I know what I want to say this morning. Oftentimes I don't read or use my talking points anyways. So what do I want to say this morning that I think is relevant? I've been in transportation, believe it or not, for 12 years. I'm 44 years old. That means I started at 32. Caesar knows, he's nodding his head because he was there at the beginning. And I have the white hairs to prove it, if you look close enough. And in 12 years in public transportation, we've been able to do things that I think are impactful in a way, but in another way fall very short of the kind of transformational change that Miami and this community and this country deserves. And part of the reason why is because for 11 and a half of those 12 years, we were using yesterday's technology to solve today and tomorrow's problems. What I call putting lipstick on a pig. I see Harry here in the audience who has a tomorrow solution to a today problem. But we so much were using yesterday's solutions for today's problems. And I'm not gonna criticize them because if I start calling them out, maybe some of you have some of these technologies, so I don't want to do that to you guys. But what's been inspiring is the last 6 months. In some ways, the ones that I kind of disconnected, I separated myself a little bit from the process. And in separating myself from the formal process, I actually got a better look at the macro process. And so, what Harry's done with Freebie and what many of you have done with scooters and last mile and what the Boring Company's doing and what the urban air mobility companies are doing. Hyundai is going to be the next speaker, the president of Hyundai's urban air mobility division. That's what's really exciting me, because the solutions are there. We just have to start thinking about today and tomorrow's technology, not yesterday's technology. And I think that's a microcosm for modern day politics. We're in an inflection point in the world where we're transitioning from the boomer generation, which did a tremendous amount. My father was the first Cuban mayor of Miami. I am so grateful for him and for what he did to make this city the city that can create the kind of ecosystem that's seeing the explosive growth that we're experiencing at this moment. If it wasn't for him, and Harry knows this, he was there at the beginning. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have these opportunities. We wouldn't have the building blocks to create this ecosystem. But we've got to turn the page. We've got to move on. Our children and our grandchildren and our unborn grandchildren, great-grandchildren depend on it. And so that's why I'm excited to be here today. And I'm so blessed to have CoMotion here in Miami. And I'm so thankful to be speaking here today, because let me tell you something. And this is a fact. If the public sector doesn't do it, the private sector will. And what is the private sector doing, aside from micromobility, aside from both micromobilities, aside from urban air mobility, aside from 1/200th of the cost in boring tunnels? We're doing it from a planning and building perspective, right? The way Miami is being developed is in 15-minute walkable increments. So what is the most fundamental mode of transportation? Your feet. And so the private sector has figured out, has hacked a lot of these problems. When the public sector does not act, the private sector hacks. It actually rhymes, right? When the public sector does not act, the private sector hacks, right? It's like necessity is the mother of invention. And so that's what we see in today's modern transportation world. You see hack after hack after hack on a public world that wants to study everything forever, wants to debate everything forever, wants to spend 10 times or 20 times more than what is necessary to solve a problem, because they don't want to innovate, they don't want to take chances, they don't want to be criticized. And oftentimes they spend tens of millions of dollars on studies. And I know all of you who do a phenomenal job in the engineering, and I don't want everybody to call me back later. How could you criticize? You do great work. But by the way, we should use your studies. We should actually implement what you recommend, as opposed to just put them on a shelf and let them collect dust, which I know is frustrating for you as well, because you didn't produce that work product for it to sit on a shelf. You produced that work product for it to be put into practice, to be put into action. So my call to action today is about, telling our governments as a community of stakeholders in transportation, let's get to work. Let's really focus on this transformative technological burst of ideas, and let's leverage that. Let's do it now, because one of the biggest questions that people ask me about the growth of our city is experiencing hypersonic growth. One of the biggest questions is, how are you going to deal with it from an infrastructure perspective? That is the number one question. We have the ability to grow. Hold on to your ears on this one. My dad would tell me when we were in the car driving fast, hold on to your ears. We have the ability to grow 10x. 10x, 10 times the size that we are right now in our zoning landscape. The delta between what's built and what can be built, we have a form-based code. As of right, without asking for any favors, is a 10x multiple. So think about that as you think about the opportunity of transportation in Miami and your solutions for that, and how they can impact everyday quality of life. That is an incredible upside, an incredible opportunity, an incredible market for you. I'm so bullish on this city. I'm so bullish on this country. And I'm bullish on the city and I'm bullish on this country in very large part because of the people that are sitting in this audience right now. Because I believe in you. And I believe in you because you have delivered. You've already delivered solutions. And you have many more creative solutions to deliver. So I want to be a facilitator for that. I want to make sure that as government, we don't get in the way. We do a great job of that. We wouldn't be here right now if I didn't act as a facilitator. And so I just ask you for, frankly, your prayers. And I ask you for your support in helping us walk together along this journey to continue to support this Miami miracle and imagine a country that can serve the very varied needs of our citizens in an inspirational and aspirational and positive way, getting them from point A to point B efficiently, inexpensively, and effectively. Thank you.